changes. As you can see, live pictures on your screens from inside the room. The official handing over ceremony is set to take place at around 11:10 this morning till 12 o'clock. The CJ will make his valedictory statement to the nation. He then will hand over the instruments of power to the Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court, who is also the acting Chief Justice, or will be. There will then be remarks by the Deputy Chief Justice, and then a photo session, and then the CJ will be escorted to his car by the judiciary leadership. So plenty to look forward to this morning. Remember, Maraga has served as the CJ since 2016 when he took over from Willie Mutunga. His time at the helm has perhaps been described as controversial by some, with more recently him advising the president to dissolve Parliament. So his tenure has been dotted with interesting times indeed. For now, though, we can hand over and listen in for a moment to what's being said in the court.
Court, my Lord, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, David Kenani Maraga, my Lady, the Deputy Chief Justice and the Acting Chief Justice, and judges of the Supreme Court. My name is Nelson Ndai Harvey. I appear on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya. If it may please you, my Lady, before you is the motion dated the 11th of January 2021, made on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya. My Lady and my Lords, there are a total of 5 prayers sought in the motion. Permit me to proceed straight away to the substantive requests, and you'll find the substantive requests at prayer number 3, which reads as follows: that this Honorable Court be pleased to order that His Lordship, Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga, shall be deemed as having retired from the office of Judge, Chief Justice, and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya at midnight on 11th January 2021 upon attaining the age of 70 years. My Lady and my Lords, this motion is predicated upon 9 grounds set out on the face of the motion, which I will highlight in brief. My Lady and my Lords, under Article 167, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, a judge shall retire from the office upon attaining the age of 70 years. According to the records held by the judiciary, His Lordship, Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, was born on the 12th of January 1951. The records further indicate that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga was admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya on the 16th of October 1978. A perusal of the record further indicates that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga served as a judge of the High Court of Kenya between October 2003 and 2011. My Lady and my Lords, the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga was appointed a judge of the Court of Appeal and served in that capacity between the 16th of June 2011 and the 19th of October 2016. The Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga was appointed and has served as Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya from the 19th of October 2016 to date. My Lady and my Lords, as I conclude, it is my request that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga having been born on the 12th of January 1951, has attained the age of 70 years and is therefore due to retire from the office of the Judge, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya today, 11th January 2021 at midnight. It is therefore my plea to the court that it is just and lawful that an order be made that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga shall be deemed as having retired from the office of Judge, Chief Justice, and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya at midnight, 11th January 2021, upon attaining the age of 70 years. The motion is predicated upon the provisions of law set out. It is my humble request that this motion be allowed. I most oblige, my lady and my lords.
Although we see that there is no appearance for any other parties, may anyone present have anything to say in opposition or support of the motion? There being no one, we shall proceed to consider the application and shortly give our ruling. Just before we render our ruling in this matter, allow me to say the following. The Chief Justice would ordinarily be seated on that side with Nelson Harvey, President, Law Society of Kenya, but the Constitution requires that the Supreme Court shall be fully constituted if a minimum of 5 judges sit. We also have developed jurisprudence that a judge whose matter is being considered, or for any other reason, the nature of the application is such that it has to be heard, and there isn't quorum, that judge would sit. In our case today, the foregoing principle, of course, was set out in reply. Those of us who read precedents know that. In today's proceedings, the Chief Justice is obliged to sit with us on this side because our sister, the Honorable Lady Justice Njoki, was completely unable to attend today's proceedings because of matters that she could not delegate to any other person. For that reason, therefore, and as a matter of necessity, the Chief Justice constitutes the bench so that we do not disobey the Constitution of Kenya 2010. That said, this is the ruling that we give in this matter with the subsequent necessary orders. The notice of motion under consideration, we find, is one that is merited, based as it is on the Constitution, the law, and the sound jurisprudence in similar institutions like ours across the world. In the premises, the application by Nelson Harvey, the President of the Law Society of Kenya, succeeds in its entirety, and the same is granted as prayed. For the avoidance of doubt, the Chief Justice, David Kenani Maraga, shall be deemed to retire at midnight tonight, the 11th day of January 2021. There shall be no order as to costs. Each party will bear its own costs. And these proceedings shall be made permanent records of the court, and a copy thereof shall be supplied to the Honorable, the retiring Chief Justice, David Kenani Maraga. It is so ordered.
My Lady Chief Justice, my Lords, Judges of the Supreme Court, on behalf of the Law Society, I'm very grateful to the court for having considered the application and made the appropriate orders. We are most obliged.
Thank you very much. Now that brings this morning's proceedings to a close, unless there is anybody present now who wishes to say anything by way of tribute, by way of anything to the Honorable, the Chief Justice, before we go to the next phase of today's events. There being nothing and no one wishing to speak, the court is adjourned.
Active. name, etc. Thank you.